Welcome back to Dead Sleep True Crime for Bedtime. It's Nancy Miller. And if you are new to the podcast, Dead Sleep is a podcast with true crime stories made for nighttime listening. Dead Sleep is also 100% independent and ad-free. If you would like to support the podcast, you can subscribe for $5 a month through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Patreon. I recently received a request to make an episode of Dead Sleep more boring. And I'm always here for a story challenge. And I think tonight's episode fits the bill. It centers around a heist. And when you think about it, heists are quite tedious. All that planning, all that coordinating, all that driving around, all of the arguments and decision-making and lock-picking, all of those details. And tonight's episode is a highly detailed and slow-moving take on a criminal court case that just resolved in France at the end of May. And you might have read the headlines about this case. The trial of the men accused of robbing Kim Kardashian in 2016 and stealing over $10 million worth of her jewelry. Now, what one thinks of Kim Kardashian or like or dislike, it doesn't matter. Because the thieves at the center of this story, they didn't care. They didn't have personal feelings. What they had was a job to do, one that would ultimately involve between 8 and 10 people to execute. Months and months of surveillance, monitoring her whereabouts, tracking her schedule, enlisting accomplices, all for one fateful night. It was early October 2016. Kim Kardashian was in Paris for Fashion Week, and she'd rented a luxurious apartment located in an ultra-private hotel, one that very few people had access to. But one night, at 2:30 in the morning, Kim was alone, in bed, asleep, when a group of men, dressed as police, burst through the door, guns pointing at her head. A bewildered Kim, who was alone in a bathrobe, startled awake, demanded to know what they wanted. With them was a hostage. The man who worked the front desk, the only security that night. A man who was originally from Algeria and was in Paris studying for his PhD. He spoke fluent French and English, and he translated what the men wanted. It was actually quite simple. And for this, I'll put on my best Charles Boyer. Madame, where are the jewels? And she was terrified. They were going to hurt her, that they were going to kill her. She told them to take whatever they wanted. She didn't care. Just let her live. But she'd soon realize she was, to them, an afterthought, an accessory, a vehicle to just get them what they came for. The jewels. Kim Kardashian was there for Fashion Week. And as an outsider, more or less, she had what you might call a bourgeois sensibility to bring every item of jewelry she had nearly the bottom of the trunk, so she wouldn't be caught off guard, not having that perfect piece for just the right moment, just in case. And they took nearly all of it, from the Cartier bracelets to the diamond-studded necklaces, to the Rolex watches. An estimated $10 million worth of jewelry. And once they cleaned her out, the thieves made off. Some heading into the street on foot, others making a getaway on bicycles. And they left her in her bathrobe and zip-tied, alone for hours, while she waited for help. And it was those zip ties that would lead to the capture of two men whose DNA was found on those plastic zip ties. And much to many people's surprise, those two men and the other individuals involved, they didn't fit your typical criminal type, at least not in the minds of the public. Perhaps thanks to Netflix, when many of us envision a French jewel thief, we picture the nimble and dashing Omar Sy as the sleek and sophisticated gentleman thief, Lupin. The men who were captured were nicknamed the Grandpa Gang because the men involved with this robbery, they were significantly older, in their 60s and early 70s. Career criminals who had long and extensive rap sheets. Technically, they were jewel thieves, but really, they were ruffians, old-time crooks. It seems they didn't even spring for the whole police uniform, they just bought the hats. And they bound and gagged Kim Kardashian at gunpoint, which seemed excessive, theatrical. Which is what made the scope and audacity of this crime so intriguing. What was it that inspired these men to target one of the most famous women in the world? A woman on whom cameras are almost always trained, who is typically surrounded by security, and on top of that, a city that was still on high alert after the 2015 terrorist attacks happened in Paris. And they'd recently installed a number of cameras in public spaces all over the city. What could lure a bunch of old, unofficially retired criminals to get together one last time for one last heist? Obviously, they knew she was rich, and they'd seen her on social media flaunting her wares. But it turns out there was one motive, one catalyst, one distinct object of desire, an irresistible bauble spotted by the group's apparent ringleader, a man nicknamed appropriately Omar the Old. Something he saw that was so dazzling, so beautiful, so beguiling, it drove him to attempt this wild stunt. Well, it was love, unlike anything he'd ever known. A ring with an 18.88 carat diamond. A diamond best described as the size of a Jolly Rancher hard candy. Flawless. A perfect, shiny, rectangle emerald cut. That ring. Ooh la la. Glimmering on Kim Kardashian's finger. Anyone could see it was sublime. But out of all of her millions and millions and millions of viewers and fans and followers, there was only one man determined to get it. Of course, things didn't work out as planned, and ringleader Omar and his crew got caught. And it took time, but in the end, there were 8 people who were found guilty for their involvement in this robbery. And this case had dragged on for so long, and the men were so old that at least one of the robbers involved died. And the others, including the ringleader, in desperately poor health. And Kim Kardashian was in Paris to give testimony, but all these years later, and after Omar issued an apology, Kim Kardashian said that she forgave him and wanted to move on, close this chapter of her life. And so as of late May 2025, voila, this case is closed. But there's one remaining mystery. What happened to that diamond? The 18.88 carat emerald cut diamond ring. Nobody knew. After the heist, the thieves got rid of the jewelry quickly, sold off or melted down, likely for a fraction of what it cost. A process called fencing that we learned a lot about in an episode called 6 Degrees of Birkin. So if you want a more detailed account of luxury black markets and how fencing works, after this episode, I encourage you to listen to that episode called 6 Degrees of Birkin. But authorities believed the uniqueness of that $4 million ring gifted to Kim Kardashian from her then husband Kanye West. It was still out there. A piece so distinct, it would be very difficult to sell, even in the black market. As for Omar, explaining what he did with it after he'd stolen it, by 2016, it was impossible for him to say. It really was. According to his lawyer, Omar was now so ill at his advanced age, in his late 60s, early 70s, that illness had rendered him completely unable to speak. So even if he knew where that diamond was, which he swore he did not, but even if he did, he couldn't say. But you know what they say, diamonds are forever. And that diamond ring is likely out there somewhere. And maybe, if we know the story of that diamond, it could offer clues to where that ring is, where it might have ended up. So the rest of this episode is going to be the story of a diamond. And to understand the story of that diamond, from its dark and deep origins to its strange and mysterious fate, to understand that, we have to go back, way back in time, further back than 2016 when that robbery took place, further back than when Kim Kardashian became famous because of reality TV, a time before reality TV, a time before reality as we know it altogether, a time before humans existed on this planet. The story of this diamond starts 3 billion years ago. Not in Paris, France, but at the center of the earth. Diamonds and their glistening luminescence and glossy surface often have the appeal and the feel of ice. But a diamond, a real diamond, is born from fire. The formation of a diamond requires very high temperatures and pressures. Beneath the Earth's surface, in the Earth's mantle, about 90 miles, that's 150 kilometers or more below the surface, where temperatures are at least 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 1,050 degrees Celsius. So what is the Earth's mantle? The Earth's mantle is a thick layer of mostly solid, hot rock located between the crust and the core of the Earth. It's the largest layer of Earth, making up about 84% of its volume and 67% of its mass. The Earth's internal structure has been described as everything from a hard-boiled egg to a peach, but I'm inclined to describe it more like a peanut M&M. In what it might lack in perfect geological accuracy, it makes up for in deliciousness. The Earth's surface, it's like that candy-coated outer shell. And then there's the second layer, the delicious and chocolatey substratum. That is like the Earth's mantle. And then, of course, the core. In an M&M, that's the peanut. In the Earth, that core is a mixture of metals, iron and nickel, and smaller amounts of other dense elements. Billions of years ago, before there were dinosaurs, before there was even plant life, diamonds were formed from intense pressure and heat, then delivered to the Earth's surface from something called deep source volcano eruptions. These eruptions tore out pieces of the mantle, that's the chocolate in that peanut M&M, and then pushed them rapidly to the surface. It's strange to think that there could be volcanic eruptions with molten lava deep inside the Earth, volcanic eruptions we've never seen and will likely never see, and are, in fact, according to geologists, extremely rare, which is in part what makes diamonds so rare. That a diamond, when found in the Earth, is billions of years old, pushed to the surface over an estimated 100 million years ago. Which is why it's important to know that diamonds existed before dinosaurs. Which means diamonds, despite what we learned in school maybe, they're not made from coal. Coal is derived from fossil fuel, and fossil fuel is derived from fossils. And fossils are comprised of organic matter. And organic matter is derived from living organisms, or the remains of living organisms. So diamonds are made from pure carbon. That's carbon atoms. And those atoms form what's called a tetrahedral molecular structure, which means that there's an atom at the center and then 4 electron groups arranged around it. And if you think about it, that's kind of like the molecular structure of the Kardashian family. At least the girls. There's Kim at the center, with her 4 K-named sisters. Kourtney, Khloe, Kylie, and Kendall. And it's that molecular structure that gives diamonds their unique shape and their toughness. And by and large, the only way to cut a diamond is with another diamond. And I suppose the same could be said with the Kardashian sisters. nobody knows how to cut Kim down faster than Courtney, and vice versa. If diamonds were so deep in Earth's soil, how did we even know that they existed at all? It's difficult to put an exact date on this, but it's believed that humans first discovered diamonds in a cave in India roughly 4,000 years ago. And for a long time, most diamonds came from India. Later, diamonds would be discovered in Brazil, in Africa, in Russia, and what is now Canada. And from the very beginning, humans found diamonds irresistible, fascinating. Because humans have, it seems, an innate attraction to sparkly things. And while diamonds in the right light glimmer like stars, it's possible one of the reasons why humans are inherently attracted to diamonds is because the shininess and the gloss on a diamond resembles the surface of water. And some theorize that it's our evolutionary drive to find water for survival. And therefore, the glossiness of a diamond holds an innate appeal. A thing of beauty that actually reflects our need for a vital resource. And that attraction to shiny objects is as true now as it was in India all of those years ago. And it's not just diamonds. Look at the design of an iPhone. A glossy surface that attracts our eye instantly. Whether there is an actual evolutionary connection between shiny surfaces and our inherent drive for water for survival, it's not clear. But it's fair to say that many of us consider our need for our iPhone as crucial to survival as water. But the shiny surface of a diamond is deceiving, because diamonds are one of the toughest minerals on Earth, which is what added to its appeal. Early on, diamonds became a symbol of strength, a talisman. And indeed, diamonds are difficult to break without special tools. And over the centuries, it would be the wealthiest and most powerful who had access to those tools, and the craftsmen who could make special pieces for important people, kings and queens. Diamonds are more than just glossy. They are a mirror for human existence. And human existence is complicated. There are diamond mines in a few different parts of the world, and one might imagine diamonds being extracted with a big machine or people with chisels. But these days, to make mining more efficient, diamond miners carve out huge holes in the earth. Picture like scooping out ice cream from a round 3-gallon tub that's still rock-hard frozen. With great effort, all of that soil is scooped up and out, then transported to special plants where the ore from that soil is processed and rough diamonds are extracted. Now, open pit mines, which is a common form of mining, the one that we probably most imagine, they are massive. In one of the biggest and earliest open pit mines, it's called the Big Hole, located in Kimberley, South Africa. And while that mine is no longer active, and it hasn't been for years, it's a man-made cavity so enormous, the Big Hole can be seen from space. Now, Kim Kardashian's stolen diamond was likely from Africa, and if recently acquired, it was likely from Botswana, which still has abundant diamond mines and is deemed, at least in this problematic industry, as having more ethical and sustainable practices than elsewhere, relatively speaking. That diamond, whether it came from Botswana or elsewhere in Africa, it found its way to Belgium, specifically to Antwerp. Antwerp has been the world's major shipping port for diamond dealing for 500 years, since these rough stones were first brought from India to Antwerp back in the 1400s. Antwerp, Belgium remains the diamond capital of the world, where an estimated 80% of all diamonds pass through the port city. Kim Kardashian's diamond was, of course, destined for big things, which means her diamond eventually found its way to the other diamond capital of the world, New York City. New York City, which was initially colonized by the Dutch, has had a diamond district since at least the 1700s. But the most significant moment in modern-day diamond dealing happened during World War II, in the early 1940s, when Orthodox Jewish jewelers in Antwerp and Amsterdam had to flee with the rise of Hitler and the invasion of their countries by the Nazis. Many of these European jewelers made their way to the Diamond District, which eventually found its permanent home in the center of Manhattan, a specific street, deemed the Diamond District, 47th Street between 5th Avenue and 6th Avenue. One of those Jewish jewelers was a man who came to the United States during World War II, an immigrant with virtually nothing, and over the next 40 years built a business where he was the biggest diamond dealers in the country until 1989, when he retired and his granddaughter took over the family business. She was one of those rare women in the diamond dealing and gemstone world. Her name was Lorraine Schwartz. Lorraine was a unique jeweler who not only sourced and sold diamonds, she designed custom pieces for her clients. Lorraine Schwartz's big break happened in 1994, when the iconic artist David Bowie purchased a 10-carat canary diamond, designed by Lorraine and given to the love of his life, the famous model Iman. And after Iman and Bowie, Lorraine's celebrity clients were like links in a chain, one after another. In 2002, Halle Berry wore a pair of diamond earrings designed by Lorraine Schwartz to the Oscars. After that, Beyoncé wore a pair of Lorraine's earrings to Obama's inauguration, along with a diamond engagement ring when she married Jay-Z, with the endorsement of Beyoncé. Lorraine was soon sought after by just about every high-profile music artist, including hip-hop superstar Kanye West, who wanted something extra special for his wife Kim. Kim Kardashian was already a repeat customer of Lorraine Schwartz for Kim's second marriage to Chris Humphries, the NBA player. She later revealed that she paid for most of that ring herself. Maybe that's why, once she became engaged to Kanye West, he bestowed upon her not one but two giant engagement rings, both designed by Lorraine Schwartz. Now, this second so-called engagement ring was interesting. When Kanye West surprised Kim Kardashian with this splashy ring, and she opened the box, on the back of that ring, where someone might inscribe an important date or a couple's initials, Kanye West had inscribed Adidas. Adidas was the brand he just signed a big fashion deal with, and it seems he inscribed her ring with Adidas to commemorate that special moment. And that diamond became a symbol of something that they shared. A love, a deep affection that was also a lucrative transaction. When Kim was heading to Paris for that fateful fashion week, her husband, Kanye himself, asked her if she planned to bring all of her jewelry. Was she really going to bring it all? Wasn't she worried about getting robbed? And so, in a moment of second-guessing herself, she left behind the first engagement ring that he gave her. That one was only 5 carats. And leaving that one behind, she headed over to Paris. And on top of that, as you likely know, Kim posted on social media all the time. And why wouldn't she? At that time, she earned hundreds of thousands of dollars for her posts. And while she'd received ample criticism and online hatred, a profound amount of vitriol, in real life, she hadn't yet been threatened or gravely hurt. But that night at the hotel, it changed her forever. And after that, whether she liked it or not, her world got smaller. She said she experienced severe post-traumatic stress disorder. And she largely retreated from public life in being more inhibited with what she wanted to share. And her return to Paris to testify in May of 2025 was triumphant. And the ultimate symbol of her return was what she wore on her ring finger. Not an 18.88 carat diamond, but a 20 carat rock that she bought with the insurance settlement money. A sign to the robbers, to the world, to her ridiculous ex-husband, that she wasn't going to make herself small anymore. The hotel concierge, the one that was basically held hostage and brought up to her room, he didn't fare as well. He ultimately abandoned the PhD and left France for good. During this trial, prosecutors were frustrated with this appearance that these men were somehow elderly and frail and that we should feel sorry for them, or this nickname, the grandpa robbers, that it was cute. Especially because a few years earlier, one of the robbers had written a book titled, in French, I Kidnapped Kim Kardashian. And ultimately, while the men were found guilty, they received pretty light sentences, essentially time served for the few years they'd already spent in a French prison, and were set free. But Kim Kardashian, who is now pursuing a future in criminal law, it seems, she was satisfied. And maybe these guys were expert criminals, down for one last heist, but some of their behavior that night was something like out of an absurd comedy, including a moment caught on video of one of the robbers dropping a bag full of jewels, and this included a diamond necklace that was left right there on the street. A necklace that was later picked up by a Parisian, who, of course, being Parisian, wore that necklace to work the next day. And only when this whole incident was reported on French television realized that they were wearing Kim Kardashian's diamond necklace. And, bien sûr, subsequently returned it. And this ring, it could be in Belgium somewhere, where the other jewels were taken and quickly melted down and portioned off and resold. The smaller diamonds repurposed and reset, barely recognizable. And perhaps this giant diamond, which would likely remain intact, is in a drawer somewhere until this all blows over, and that maybe somebody won't notice the Adidas on the flip side, or they can sell it and they won't care. But if it's not in Belgium, my theory, or at least my fantasy scenario, is more like this. That, like that diamond necklace, this giant ring also fell out of that bag. And when it did, it tumbled into a Parisian gutter. And if it tumbled into the gutter, then it slipped into the Seine. And it rode along the current of the Seine, hundreds of miles, until it was nudged into the English Channel, where the currents once again pushed it along, slowly and gently. Hundreds, thousands of more miles. A current that would take this diamond back to where it came from, washing it up against the soil in Southwest Africa, where maybe over tens, hundreds, thousands of years, it'd be pushed back into the mantle, nestled back into the chocolate of that peanut M&M, where it really will stay, safe and at home, forever and ever, or wherever long forever lasts. Thank you for listening to Dead Sleep True Crime for Bedtime. I hope this episode was sufficiently boring. I'll be back soon with an all-new True Crime for Bedtime episode. And until then, nighty-night.